Have you ever looked at an airplane and felt a mix of admiration and doubt? For many aviation lovers, that's exactly how the Boeing 737 MAX feels. A marvel of engineering on one hand, and a painful reminder of one of the darkest chapters in modern aviation on the other. And yet, this story is far from over. If you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll discover why 2026 might just mark one of the most remarkable comebacks in aviation history. One that very few people are talking about right now. The Boeing 737 MAX story begins like any great aviation chapter, with ambition. When Boeing introduced the MAX family, it promised better fuel efficiency, quieter engines, and longer range, all built on the trusted 737 platform that had served the world for decades. For a moment, it looked like a perfect evolution of an already legendary aircraft. Airlines placed hundreds of orders, aviation enthusiasts celebrated, and then tragedy struck. Between October 2018 and March 2019, two crashes, Lion Air Flight 610 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, claimed the lives of 346 people. The cause? A flight control system called MCAS, intended to make the aircraft feel like earlier 737 models, had malfunctioned in specific scenarios. The aviation world was shaken. It wasn't just the loss of life, it was the realization that a trusted icon had failed in a way few imagined possible. From a psychological standpoint, what happened next was inevitable. Trust collapsed. Aviation is built on trust. Passengers trust pilots, pilots trust their aircraft, and airlines trust the manufacturer. The 737 MAX grounding in March 2019 was the largest grounding of a commercial aircraft type in modern history. For enthusiasts, it felt personal. These weren't just machines, they were symbols of human achievement, and now they carried the weight of doubt. Boeing faced an uphill battle. They issued apologies, they redesigned the software, they cooperated with investigations. But psychology tells us something important here. When a relationship is damaged, words aren't enough. You can't talk your way back into someone's trust. You have to prove it consistently over time. And so, while the 737 MAX 8 and MAX 9 slowly returned to service after recertification, another variant, the smallest of the family, quietly waited in the background. That aircraft was the Boeing 737 MAX 7. In those early years after the crisis, Boeing chose a low-profile approach. No big marketing blitz, no flashy promises. They worked in silence, away from headlines, making sure that every single safety improvement wasn't just certified on paper, but verified in the air over thousands of hours of flight testing. For aviation lovers, this wasn't just about technical fixes. It was about seeing whether Boeing could rebuild a culture of safety that once made it the gold standard of commercial aviation. There's another psychological factor at play here: the betrayal effect. When something or someone we admire fails, the emotional impact is stronger than if we never cared in the first place. The 737 MAX wasn't just another plane. It was supposed to be the continuation of one of the most successful jetliner series in history. And that's why the comeback, if it succeeds, will feel equally powerful. Because redemption, when earned, can create a bond stronger than before. For airlines, especially those that built their fleets around Boeing aircraft, the crisis forced difficult decisions. Some carriers shifted orders to Airbus. Others, like Southwest Airlines, the largest 737 operator in the world, doubled down on Boeing, believing that the company could fix the issues and return to form. That loyalty speaks volumes. It also mirrors what psychologists call commitment bias. When we've invested so much in something, we're more likely to see it through to the end rather than walk away. For Southwest, and for many aviation fans, the story wasn't finished. During the years following the grounding, every move Boeing made was under scrutiny. Regulators in the United States, Europe, and beyond weren't taking chances. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, was determined not to be caught off guard again. They examined not just the MAX 8 and MAX 9 fixes, but every variant still in development, including the MAX 7. This extended the timeline far beyond what Boeing originally planned, pushing the MAX 7's debut closer to 2026. In a strange way, this delay may have been exactly what Boeing needed. In human relationships, time apart can either make you forget or make you appreciate the absence more. For many in the aviation community, the MAX 7 became something of a mystery aircraft. We knew it existed. We knew it was being tested. But unlike its larger siblings, it stayed mostly in the shadows. And psychologically, the quiet underdog has a unique appeal. We want to see if it can surprise us. As we stand now, in 2025, the MAX 7 is no longer just a product. It's a symbol. For Boeing, it represents a chance to prove that they've learned, adapted, and returned stronger. For aviation fans, it's a test of whether we can believe in an aircraft and in a company. Again, because in aviation, safety is not just a feature, it's the very foundation of flight. And here's where the real reward for watching this video comes in. By the end of this story, you'll understand why the 737 MAX 7's entry into service in 2026 might be one of the most strategic and emotionally satisfying moments in recent aviation history, and why this silent comeback could redefine how we look at Boeing for decades to come. So let's pull back the curtain and take a closer look at the aircraft that's been waiting patiently for its moment in the sun. Its journey isn't just technical, it's deeply human. When you first hear smallest in the family, it's easy to underestimate what that means in the aviation world. But in commercial flight, size isn't just about how many seats fit in a cabin. It's about where you can fly, how often, and how profitably. The Boeing 737 MAX 7 might be the shortest variant in the MAX lineup, but in many ways it carries the biggest expectations. Technically, the MAX 7 is a direct successor to the 737-700, a workhorse that's been serving airlines since the late 1990s. The -700 was loved for its flexibility. It could land on shorter runways, serve smaller cities, and still cover respectable distances without breaking a sweat. The MAX 7 takes that DNA and updates it for a new era. Its advertised range is around 3,850 nautical miles, enough to connect city pairs that would have been uneconomical for larger jets. That's an edge in a market where efficiency rules everything. Psychologically, this go-anywhere trait appeals to a certain type of aviation lover. It's the same attraction people feel toward multi-purpose tools or all-terrain vehicles, machines that adapt rather than demand adaptation. There's a quiet romance in the idea of a jet that can slip into smaller airports, touch down in less traveled destinations, and still carry passengers in comfort and safety. From a design standpoint, the MAX 7 shares the LEAP 1 billion engines and aerodynamic improvements of its larger siblings, split-tip winglets, updated flight deck, and refined systems. But its smaller fuselage means fewer passengers, around 138 to 153 in a standard two-class layout. For some, that sounds like a disadvantage. For others, it's a precision tool in a fleet strategy. Here's where the psychology of airlines comes in. Not every route is about maximum capacity. On many city pairs, especially those connecting secondary airports or serving off-peak travel periods, half-empty planes mean lost revenue. A right-sized aircraft, like the MAX 7, allows airlines to keep frequency high without bleeding costs. And frequent service, as passenger behavior studies show, often matters more to travelers than the size of the aircraft itself. There's also a human factor hidden in the numbers. Pilots who train on one MAX variant can easily transition to another. That common type rating means airlines can shift crews between the MAX 7, 8, and 9 without starting from scratch. For operations teams, that's pure efficiency. And for pilots, familiarity breeds confidence, something Boeing badly needs to restore after the past decade. The MAX 7's role is not about dominating headlines with record passenger counts. It's about stitching the edges of the network, connecting small cities to hubs, allowing carriers to test new markets, and making routes work where other planes can't. It's the aircraft you don't notice on the news, but you remember when you're flying into a runway surrounded by mountains or landing in a coastal town with no wide-body gates. That reliability creates a subtle but deep emotional attachment among those who understand what it's doing. Think about Southwest Airlines, the MAX 7's launch customer and most vocal supporter. Southwest has built its entire identity on point-to-point travel, quick turnarounds, and serving destinations beyond the obvious big city hubs. For them, the MAX 7 isn't a niche tool, it's a backbone. It can handle everything from short hops between Texas cities to transcontinental flights, without forcing passengers into massive airports. That closer-to-home feeling is something psychologists recognize as a powerful loyalty trigger. There's also an operational psychology that matters here, control over scheduling. When you have an aircraft that fits routes perfectly, you control the frequency, the pricing, and the passenger experience. That makes the MAX 7 a kind of freedom machine for network planners. They can experiment without the financial risk of sending out a half-empty larger jet, which in turn keeps the airline nimble and competitive. For passengers, the size often means quicker boarding, faster baggage handling, and a cabin that feels less crowded. While it doesn't have the sheer space of a wide-body, the interior uses the same updated Boeing Sky interior, larger overhead bins, modern lighting, and quieter engines. Noise reduction is no small psychological factor. Research shows that lower cabin noise reduces passenger stress and even improves the perception of comfort. It's subtle, but subtle details are what rebuild reputations. In the broader MAX family, the 7 stands apart as the specialist. The MAX 8 and MAX 9 carry more people, but they're limited in where they can go efficiently. The MAX 7's shorter body, lighter weight, and strong engines let it reach challenging airports at higher altitudes and in hotter climates, conditions that can reduce performance on larger aircraft. For pilots, that's more than convenience. It's about confidence that the aircraft can perform under pressure. And here's where the emotional narrative deepens. Many aviation enthusiasts admire aircraft that serve the hard routes, the ones without glamour but full of challenge. It's the same reason some people love bush planes or commuter turboprops. These machines are the lifeline for smaller communities. The MAX 7, in its own way, belongs to that tradition. It just happens to do it with jetliner speed and comfort. From Boeing's perspective, the MAX 7 is also a strategic shield. It keeps Airbus from owning the lower-capacity jet market entirely. The A220, especially the larger -300 variant, has been gaining attention as a small, efficient jet. The MAX 7 answers that challenge while keeping Boeing customers inside the MAX family. For loyal carriers, that continuity means fewer changes in training, maintenance, and spare parts. But beyond the economics, there's a certain underdog spirit here. The smallest member of a family rarely gets the spotlight, yet it often proves its worth through reliability and adaptability. For Boeing, proving the MAX 7's worth will be a psychological victory as much as a commercial one. Because when you've been through a storm as fierce as the MAX crisis, sometimes your strongest comeback comes from the aircraft people least expect. The Boeing 737 MAX 7 may have been designed as the nimble specialist of the MAX family, but its journey to the skies has been anything but quick. Its development timeline tells a story of caution, persistence, and an unspoken admission that rushing this aircraft would have been the biggest mistake Boeing could make. Originally, the MAX 7 was expected to enter service years ago. Test flights were underway as early as 2018, with Southwest Airlines preparing for deliveries. But when the MAX crisis erupted, everything changed. The grounding of the entire MAX fleet didn't just halt deliveries. It froze certification efforts for all remaining variants. Every design decision, every system, every emergency checklist was suddenly under a microscope. From a regulatory perspective, the FAA was determined not to repeat history. In the past, certification processes often leaned on trust between the manufacturer and the regulator, with some testing delegated to Boeing's own engineers. After the accidents, that approach was replaced by a far stricter oversight model. For the MAX 7, it meant that no step could be skipped, and no assumption could go unverified. The psychological impact of this shift inside Boeing cannot be overstated. For decades, the company operated with a rhythm. New aircraft were certified with a predictable pace, airline customers planned around those timelines, and employees took pride in delivering on schedule. Now, every milestone felt provisional, subject to change if regulators demanded more tests or modifications. For engineers, it was humbling. For executives, it was a lesson in patience. And for aviation enthusiasts watching from the outside, it was a reminder that trust, once lost, can only be regained through deliberate action. The delays were compounded by a key technical challenge: the flight deck equipment requirements under evolving safety rules. By 2020, the U.S. Congress had passed new legislation tightening cockpit, alerting system standards for aircraft not yet certified. That meant Boeing had to either redesign elements of the MAX 7 systems or secure exemptions, both time-consuming paths. Negotiations, testing, and compliance reviews stretched into years. Throughout this period, Boeing conducted a quiet campaign of test flights. Unlike the publicity that often surrounds first flights of new jets, the MAX 7's testing program was deliberately understated. It was part strategy, part necessity. The company understood that drawing attention before certification would invite speculation. And speculation had already damaged the MAX brand enough. There's a certain psychology at work here that both regulators and manufacturers know well. After a major failure, people remember not only the event, but how you respond. A rushed rollout would have confirmed fears that Boeing was more interested in profits than safety. A slow, methodical process signaled the opposite, that every system would be tested until it met the highest possible standard, even if it meant years of delay. For airlines, this drawn-out timeline was a test of loyalty. Southwest, the biggest customer, had to juggle fleet planning without the aircraft it had been counting on. Instead of MAX 7 seconds arriving, they extended the service life of older 737-700 seconds and took delivery of additional MAX 8 seconds. This stopgap strategy wasn't perfect, but it kept the network running. It also reinforced a psychological bond. When an airline adapts to delays without walking away, it signals deep confidence in the final product. The COVID-19 pandemic added another layer to the timeline. While passenger demand collapsed in 2020, airlines were in no hurry to take new aircraft. For Boeing, this pause became a strange kind of opportunity. With less pressure to deliver quickly, the company could double down on testing, training programs, and simulator scenarios for the MAX 7. In hindsight, the pandemic years became a buffer zone, time to rebuild processes and culture without the glare of constant delivery deadlines. By 2023, recertification of the MAX 8 and MAX 9 had largely restored the MAX name in active service, but the MAX 7 still waited in the background. The FAA and other global regulators required more documentation, more data, more flight hours in varying conditions. Cold weather tests, high-altitude tests, crosswind landings, all the scenarios that prove an aircraft can handle the unpredictable reality of global operations. For the people inside Boeing's flight test program, this was more than compliance work. It was about rewriting the narrative. Every safe, uneventful test flight chipped away at the image of the MAX as a risky bet. Each successful system check was a small but vital step toward redemption. Psychologists talk about the concept of effort justification. The more work you put into achieving something, the more value you assign to it when you succeed. By the time the MAX 7 finally enters service, both Boeing and its airline customers will have invested so much effort that the aircraft's arrival will feel like a hard-earned victory. That emotional payoff is what makes the silent comeback so powerful. By late 2025, signs point to certification within reach. Regulators have indicated that the MAX 7, along with its larger sibling the MAX 10, is in the final stages of review. Training materials for pilots are being finalized. Airlines are preparing maintenance crews. The slow buildup is deliberate. There will be no single grand reveal, just a steady, careful march toward operational readiness. For aviation enthusiasts, this long road carries its own kind of fascination. Most aircraft stories are about speed. Speed in the air, speed to market, speed to beat a competitor. The MAX 7's story is about endurance. It's the rare case where taking the long way around may be the only way to reach the destination with your credibility intact. When it finally joins airline fleets in 2026, the MAX 7 won't just be another new aircraft delivery. It will be the product of years of extra scrutiny, of lessons learned in the hardest possible way, and of a determination to put safety and performance ahead of shortcuts. For Boeing, it will be proof that the company can emerge from its deepest crisis with something more than words, a tangible flying symbol that the skies can be safe again. And for the passengers who step on board, it will be a quiet reassurance that sometimes the best flights are the ones built on patience. When the Boeing 737 MAX 7 finally enters service in 2026, there won't be confetti falling from the hangar doors. There won't be a triumphant soundtrack blaring over a glossy launch video. The return of this aircraft will be quiet, almost understated, and that's exactly the point. In aviation, silence is often the truest sign that everything is working as it should. For Boeing, this moment will not be a reset button, but a culmination. Every hour of delay, every page of technical revisions, every tense conversation with regulators has led to this point. The MAX 7 certification won't erase the tragedies of the past, but it will stand as a visible sign that lessons have been learned and applied. That's why the comeback is silent, because it isn't built on words, it's built on evidence. Psychologically, this strategy is deliberate. When trust has been damaged, any attempt to reclaim it through flashy marketing risks sounding hollow. Humans are more likely to believe in change when they see consistent, reliable behavior over time, rather than promises made in a single moment. By allowing the MAX 7 to enter service without a loud campaign, Boeing is inviting the aircraft itself to do the talking, flight by flight, landing by landing. For the first airlines to operate it, the focus will be on proving reliability, not chasing headlines. The MAX 7 will quietly slot into existing routes, replacing older aircraft, carrying passengers who may not even realize they are aboard a brand new model. And that's exactly how Boeing wants it. In aviation psychology, the best kind of publicity for a new jet isn't a news story. It's the absence of one. No incidents, no delays, no drama. Just dependable service.